Bingo, bango, bongo. We are live, Nico. The dynamic duo is back today. How are you doing, Nico?
I'm awesome. I am awesome. For several reasons, pure dedication, as said when we did the
Yes.
intro. I just came back. I just grabbed the share as I had a quite important court decision. I'm a freshly divorced man. So when we're talking about,
It's the
people you should watch out for in the industry, I'm back.
we are talking about the bachelor of the anime industry here today, my friends, Nico Jansen. It's great to be back here, my friend. It's been a long time. I feel that we've gotten older since last time we were here. Older, wiser, a little bit more gray hairish, kanske. But here we are, and
Indeed.
we have some quite interesting stuff
Indeed.
in front of us. Yes.
Oh,
And,
oh my
and
gosh.
so Nico, some interesting stuff that we're going to focus on today, of course, which is the kind of the drama that is a bit unfolding here between SBC and Clarion. Of course, Clarion announced the other day after a long consultation that they are going to move ICE from London to Barcelona, which also is the host city of SBC Barcelona, the flagship event here in Barcelona. But before we go into that, and we would love to have a lot of feedback from the audience today. We'd love to have a lot of engaging conversations here together with the audience. We're going to talk a little bit about, is this the right move by Clarion? What does this mean for SBC? And what does this mean for events in general? And perhaps we're going to do a little bit of a quiz as well. Even you, Nico, I'm going to quiz today, so be prepared for that. But before we jump into that discussion, of course, like always, I've been an avid listener recently, but now finally I get to announce it myself here that Nico, you have your 10 in 5 prepared here as per usual. Are you going to make it in 5 minutes today, do you think?
Like always.
Like always. All right,
It's
let's
just
go,
your
my friend.
clock. It's just your clock, which isn't on time. So the
That's true.
the Betting and Gaming Council (BGC) has underscored the financial contribution the UK's gambling industry makes to national horse racing, which has when coupled with media rights and sponsorship deals, the UK betting sector directed £455 million to horse racing in 2022, as the BGC has stated. Picking up last week's topic with Brazil. So, the provisional measure to regulate gambling has received more than 40 amendment requests in Congress. So, although it has 120 days to be reviewed by Brazilian legislators, and if you're still interested in the topic overall, just re-listen to last week's episode where we had been educated by the three musketeers, and just listen to this one once again. So most of the amendments are aimed at the allocation of resources obtained through the tax burdens. Twitch carries on with further gambling restrictions. The Amazon owned company has expanded its crackdown on gambling content, with viewership declining significantly since it started going after gambling on the platform. And just yesterday, on Wednesday, Twitch has confirmed that its ban on live streams featuring gambling content had been expanded. So we will see where this goes. And now we're going into some reports. Bet-at-Home triples EBITDA in H1 2023 despite a 9% revenue down. So, thanks to the significant reduction in costs, Bet-at-Home was able to grow its level of EBITDA more than threefold compared to H1 2022, from 1.1 to 3.8 million euros. Caesars posts a $2.9 billion in revenue in its best Q2 yet. While most of the focus was on the success of Caesars Digital, the operator reported growth in other areas. For the 3 months to the 30th of June, total group revenue hit 2.88 billion and is up 2.1% in Q1 of 2022. IGT posts over 1 billion revenue for Q2, and they are raising the full year outlook as well. So the IGT's consolidated revenue for Q2 2023 reached 1.06 billion, representing a 3% growth compared to the previous year. And just a couple of more. High Court finally dismisses IGT's national lottery license legal challenge. So after Allwyn acquired Camelot, ending the legal challenge, IGT persisted in pursuing damages, and now the High Court has ruled that IGT lacks the legal standing to make claims against the Gambling Commission. So, quite interesting. Then Heidi Reinhardt has been appointed as new chair of iGaming in Ontario. So, a subsidiary of the Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario, AGCO, iGaming Ontario, has appointed Heidi Reinhardt as its new chair. So Mrs. Reinhardt will oversee all aspects of iGaming Ontario following her appointment to the board of directors. Then Flutter begins shutdown of Fox Bet brand in the US. So Flutter Entertainment has revealed that it will wind down the Fox Bet brand in the US over the next month. The brand is live in Colorado, Michigan, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania, but it has failed to carve out a significant share of any of those markets. As we know, DraftKings and FanDuel are leading any and every market. So the brand is now expected to cease operations by 21st of August. And now, as a breaking news, and shout out once again to my dear friend Ian Turnbull, Fanatics and DAZN partner to deliver best-in-case worldwide integrated sports fan experience. So fans will have access to Fanatics' industry-leading assortment of licensed merchandise product, which will in time be deeply embedded into the DAZN app with shared account personalization and one-click purchasing. So as said, once again, shout out to my dear friend Ian Turnbull for giving me this insights. And I made it. 10-5.
Boom, Nico, that's absolutely brilliant. You got it locked down to a T, my friend. What an absolute miracle that we had today. 10-5 in actual 5 minutes. I love it. Well done, Nico, for that. And interesting as well there with Fanatics, of course, and also on the US front, Fox Bet is closing. However, on the other hand, all the major operators are now turning EBITDA positive. That's a really big moment in this industry from a US perspective, where the US operators are finally becoming profitable now, according to the latest quarterly reports. Interesting stuff there for sure.
Yep.
So guys, by the way, really interesting to have you guys here in the comments. We can see all the comments here from YouTube, from LinkedIn, from Facebook, from Twitter, and so on. So don't be shy to comment here today, because we would love to create a bit of a fun and engaging conversation around this topic that is affecting us all today, of course. So the story that we're going to talk about today, and we're going to focus only on this story today, is the fact that ICE, after a long consultation with partners, with sponsors, with advisory boards, and others, have decided to move ICE London, which has been residing there since forever, to Barcelona. This is a big move, of course. ICE, as we know it, has always been a cornerstone in the event sector in iGaming, and we are always used to go to the freezing weather in London, but now we will go to the kind of, I suppose, mild weather in Barcelona in January of 2025. So ICE is not moving from 2024; it is moving from 2025. So, Nico, to start off here, what do you make of this move by Clarion? What's your opinion here? And like I said, in the chat, we'd love to have more comments and opinions about this move as well. I can see that Bodgan is already writing here. So, but Nico, what do you think?
So, first of all, due to Brexit, of course, they needed to leave London for several reasons. One of the reasons was that especially the biggest exhibitors, I'm speaking about the Gauselmann Group and the Novomatics, who had this big and shiny stands, several thousand square meters with the big LEDs, they always had an issue with customs. You know, they are shipping their stands, of course, to customs originating from Europe, Austria, and Germany. And as soon as you are facing issues with customs and are in, yeah, probably facing the issue that your stand will not be ready when exhibition starts. That's one of the reasons why they needed to move away from London. The interesting part is when we speak about where to move, and this is where our conversation actually starts. And I'd like to phrase it a little bit different, and just highlight, because there are pros and cons for either going to Barcelona or for going to any other location. And why don't we just start with the both of us taking one stand and arguing for this one stand. I'm pretty sure, and paving your way for taking the pro stand, while I'm taking the opposite as the con stand. And please, to the audience, feel free to comment whatever you would decide on, and we will take your comments into account as well, and discuss this as well. Pierre, what's your take on this one? Should we just go for this?
Yeah,
Both of us taking one stand.
So I think the debate, I suppose, is more like, obviously SBC have launched the Barcelona event there since I think the inaugural event was 2021, and then last year 2022 the event became much bigger, right? And it's quite clear that SBC are seeing the SBC Barcelona event as their flagship event, and they have grand plans to make this SBC Barcelona event into a challenger to ICE, you could say. They are obviously lacking the land-based side of the industry that ICE has, but it's pretty clear that SBC wants this event to be kind of the primary big event in Europe. And I think that's where the debate comes from Clarion's perspective, where it's like, okay, do you move ICE to Barcelona, which already is the whole city of a massive event in SBC Barcelona, or do you move the event to any of the other proposed locations, which was Paris, Madrid, or to stay in London? Those were the option kind of thing. And it's a bit of a conundrum from Clarion's point of view, because Paris, I mean, really and truly, I mean, I'm sorry if there's any Parisians watching this, but who wants to go to Paris for a conference? Honestly, like. Also issues with strikes and difficulties and challenges that is taking place in Paris right now makes it a bit of a risk factor to host such a big event there. If we look at Madrid, yes, Madrid is a great city, but is it as international as Barcelona? And what would that mean for the long term, let's say? So this presents challenges, of course, to Clarion, and the natural option is Barcelona for the biggest event in Europe, because Barcelona is the best city to connect Latin America, North America, and Europe, and also it's just a place where people want to go. Barcelona is a great place for a conference, of course. However, now they have to contend with the fact that they are in the same city as another massive event, then, which is SBC, of course. But from my perspective, I think the first reaction is these two conferences in the same location, in the same venue, in the same city, with the same demographics is not a good thing, because maybe I only want to go to Barcelona once a year. But I think actually it's the opposite. I think that it's a very good thing for both conferences, because take the perspective of the stand builder, for example. I think Tim French, our colleague here in Gimenex, he mentioned this very good point yesterday, that imagine from a stand builder perspective, you can host your stand in Barcelona all year round and use it twice, right? So that brings cost efficiencies. And really and truly, there is enough business to be done within the European or the global event landscape and industry landscape for there to be enough reason to do an event twice a year. It doesn't mean that we have enough business for the whole year, right? If there's an event 6 or 7 months later in the year, we can go there as well, and we can again renew that pipeline, which is so important, of course. So I think actually this move is beneficial to SBC, not detrimental. What do you think, Nico?
So when comparing this to other industries as well, automotive, food industry, there's literally no industry where two major exhibitions, and we're speaking about the flagship events, not like the boutique events, flagship ones, more than 15,000 attendances, and they are never located in the same city, never. Paris Motor Show, IAA, formerly in Frankfurt, now in Munich, Geneva Motor Show, speaking about food, the IFE in London, Tutu Food, Milano, Cial Paris. So why do other industries specifically host the same event, literally aiming for the same professions, automotive, food, but they choose different locations? I totally understand your point with, stand builders can keep their stand there. But if you just think about why should anyone attend, first of all, we're speaking about 2024, September 2024. There will be the SBC Summit in Barcelona in September. And why should literally the same folks attend another major event just 4 months later? So from this perspective, I just couldn't get my head around this one.
Yeah, it's interesting. And like I said, for me, this doesn't have to become a drama. This didn't have to become an SBC versus ICE discussion in the first place. And I think in the first couple of hours after the announcement, that is not really what people talked about. People just talked about, okay, we, instead of London, we are going to now go to Barcelona. But then obviously Rasmus of SBC, the CEO of SBC, he made a post on LinkedIn. And if it wasn't clear that SBC saw this as a hostile move by Clarion and by ICE, he certainly made it clear in that post. So Elizabeth, in the background, feel free to put this post up there. And in the meantime, as well, Phil Pearson here is commenting that the response from FSC, in his opinion, was a bit childish. No one owns a city for an event. The logistics of moving ICE is sensible. You need the land base there. You need the football. You need a venue who can cope with the size of the capability of doing it. And what Rasmus is making it clear here is that he is disappointed in Clarion's decision to move ICE London to SBC, and he's saying that imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. But I can't see how this decision is based on what is best for the industry, only what is best for Clarion. And the many industry friends and partners that we have been speaking to already know that, despite any attempts of hiding behind a so-called process. So Rasmus is essentially saying that if you can use the word being a bit conspiratorial, and if you read between the lines, I think what Rasmus is saying is that they were conducting a false research to their partners, but they were always going to move to Barcelona, presumably to knock off SBC as an event. And I think ICE as an organization is so big, it's so dependent, I think, on the industry associations like the European Casino Association, the land-based segment, that they don't have much of say, I don't think, actually, Clarion. It's mostly the partners and the associations that dictate these like really big decisions. We also know that previously that many of these major associations have threatened to leave ICE for different reasons. And obviously they were the ones pushing for the move last year as well, from February to April, which ended up happening and so on. And so this became now a SBC versus ICE kind of affair in the eyes of SBC, and now very publicly also in the eyes of the industry. So I'm curious, Nico, what do you think of just the premise here? Do you think both events can exist together? Do you think there is a a space for both to exist, or do you think that at the end of the day people want to go to a city once a year, and so long term one of these events will stop existing? What do you think?
So first of all, both events already coexisted, just in different locations, right? It was like starting the year in London with ICE and LAC, and then moving on, of course, to your event in March, and then taking a look at the overall exhibition calendar. It literally usually closes down with the SBC summit, and no, sorry, it closes down with the Sigma exhibition in November. So I'm pretty sure both events can and will coexist. The question is just, should they coexist in the same location? And as already pointed out, so from my point of view, heading over to Barcelona and just picking up the comment from Bogdan, where he states, like, in my opinion, the logistics in Barcelona might prove to be quite challenging. Unlike London, FIRA doesn't offer much space to accommodate all the trucks carrying equipment and stands. Fact is, the Mobile World Conference, MWC, kicks off in Barcelona, usually end of February, beginning of March, with a low 6-digit number of attendances. So we're speaking about roughly 110,000 attendances. So nearly 2.5 times the size of ICE, with like 40,000 attendances. So of course they can deal with this amount of people actually settling down or traveling to Barcelona. From a weather perspective, and just keeping in mind that MWC, the Mobile World Conference, is literally the first big event which starts in Barcelona end of February, beginning of March. That's pretty much leading to the calendar of Clarion, why they needed to go for end of January, because in between there's no space left where they could probably join and take the exhibition halls of FIRA. So that's why they needed to move their event a little bit earlier as well. So from a weather perspective, temperature is pretty low in Barcelona. It's roughly 15 degrees Celsius with 4 days of rain. So it's not the sunshine all over the place. And probably just with a time span of roughly 3.5-4 weeks after Christmas and New Year's Eves, I'm pretty sure that this is just too early to actually host that event by end of January. But as said, that's just my humble opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. And to take the other side of the argument here, so we see Evelina Antonakos is commenting here that if it was the reason behind the decision from Clarion's point of view to kind of shut down SBC, if you will, we don't know, right? But she's saying that she almost agree with Rasmus, and surely it will impact their event. But I want to go back to the original point here, which is I believe as well that this will impact SBC Barcelona, but I think it will impact them positively. Again, this is our head of marketing here, Nico. He had a really great point the other day that he said internally here that, isn't this an incredible opportunity to cement Barcelona as the capital for iGaming conferences in the world, right? A lot of stand builders and the stands themselves and so on are kind of housed in London at the moment, whereas now there is a really good opportunity to house these stands and to work with local stand builders and so on in Barcelona, because you have two opportunities now to exhibit at two really good conferences, and this will just cement both of those conferences as two must-attend events, and with the cost efficiencies that come with not having to ship your stand, from the land-based perspective, being able to, of course, ship the machines and so on within the European Union, obviously is a great cost efficiency basis for them as well. So I would, if I was in this seat of SBC, I would tell my team, this is a great opportunity. Let's go to our partners and talk about the great reasons for Barcelona now becoming the home of iGaming, and why you should work with local stand builders and consider the cost efficiencies that come from this. It was a really good opportunity there to create a more kind of like union some approach to this event. But instead now it is becoming, seemingly from the post Erasmus, is becoming more a bit of a war and a bit of drama between the two. That is really sad to see, because we don't have to have this drama between the conference organizers. Why don't we try to figure out how to figure out the positives in a situation like this? Because at the end of the day, I think ICE didn't really have that much of an option, if you are to believe the arguments here. What do you think, Nico? What will you do? Like, will you go to either of the two? Will you go to both? What's your thoughts?
So first of all, I will attend both. First of all, I will attend both for sure. But picking up your point with regarding the other cities where an event like this could and should have been hosted. Lisbon is also something you could always consider as being valid, especially with the Web Summit, which is also a big conference as well. As you already mentioned, Paris, although there are, they have to deal with other stuff as well. Totally understand your point with, from a stand builder perspective, etc. But we shouldn't deny one fact, especially when it comes to, it just smells a little bit with a kind of undertone, right? And you've been part of that ship as well when we were speaking about the casino beats Malta, right? When usually it's okay, and considering London, baby, when you have after events like doing a party, whatever, etc., all good, and it seems to be like a gentleman's agreement. But having a side event during the actual event, this is kind of can be interpreted as throwing the first stone. And it's like then coming up with, okay, we decided on ICE will be moving to Barcelona as well. It kind of seems like there is history already between those two, and somebody just needs to make a valid point. But I'm pretty sure, as you have been part of the casino beats and having the side event as well, what had been your driving force on this one, or your thoughts behind this?
Yeah, it's a good question, Nico, and I think to that point as well, as Rasmus points out in his point in his post, he says that ICE are being copycats, and flattery, copying is the biggest form of flattery. But wasn't it SBC that moved to Malta after Sigma and IGMI Next? Wasn't it SBC that announced Brazil to be hosted in Brazil 1 month prior to the Sigma event next year, after Sigma has hosted an event there? I'm not saying that SBC has done anything wrong, because at the end of the day, if the opportunity is in Brazil, if the opportunity is in Malta, that's the best decision for their business. And if the delegates prefer those events, then at the end of the day, they will win. It's all about where the delegates wants to go. It's just the point what Phil mentioned earlier here is like, no one owns a city, and that's at the end of the day, that is the discussion here. Clarion is taking the best decision for their conference based on what their partners want, and so is SBC. When they launch the event in Brazil, they do it for the perspective of what they think is going to be best for their business, and that's totally fine. The problem is of course when you start going purposely head to head with the organizers, where it starts becoming damaging to the organizers. So to your point about Malta, we are 3 events that are taking place in Malta at the moment, and at the end of the day, the delegates will choose which of those events they prefer to go to, and so it's our responsibility to make sure that we organize the best event. And at the end of the day, that is what the delegates want. And I think in Barcelona, Now there are 2 events, and the only outcome of this is that both of these events will become better, right? Clarion will have a lot more pressure to organize a better event. SBC will have a lot more pressure to organize a better event. And the outcome of this is that the delegates are the winners of this. And in the long run, SBC and Clarion will be the winners of this as well. And so I think that is where we should focus our energy on, in my opinion. This kind of ICE versus SBC thing that is being kind of started now, and there's like 2 camps that are forming through this post. It's like, that's not good for anyone. If we have one side that is boycotting the other, and the other side boycotting the first, that's when everyone loses. The conferences loses, the delegates loses, and at the end of the day, we get 2 shows that are not as good as they could have been.
To emphasize your point, so first of all, there has been a study about behaviors of investment bankers. So private equity investment bankers, considerably one of the, people being on top of their game. So whenever they are triggered in a deal and they are pretty much fed up with, someone else, they would rather take a worse deal just to hurt the other one, except going for the better of them all. That's also the prisoner's dilemma. When people actually decide to cooperate for the better, for the overall better outcome, and this is pretty much what it's all about now as well. And of course, if either one of these sides starts now hosting side events during the exhibition of the other, getting people out of the exhibition halls and actually joining their side event, then actually the war leads to the overall outcome will be worse for each and everybody else. But if they cooperate in a specific way, like, okay, so stand builders, now you can participate in kind of storing your stands for the time span of 4 months, because then you can reuse the existing stands just 4 months later. That's a valid point, and this is something where they probably can cooperate and should cooperate in a specific way. But as you know, as each and everybody else knows, running a big business is only doable if you have a specific ego, because you're taking on very difficult decision on employing people, letting people go, etc. And of course, I know Raz, as he's a friend of mine. I know Alex Pratt as well. So of course, per se, both of them need to have big egos to actually do the things which they are doing great, and growing the business as well. And if they, both of them, will be able to literally separate their egos and go for the better, I'm pretty sure that the overall result, as you pointed out, will be a better outcome for the delegates.
Yeah, and just to kind of like cement the point and close the point a little bit, like when we go to ICE every year, for many companies, this is a very important event to create a pipeline for the coming and foreseeable months. Like, a lot of serious business is being done there, and a lot of businesses are counting on that event to be successful for the pipeline that is generated. Now, that doesn't mean that you create a pipeline that keeps your sales team busy for 100% of the year, right? That's why we have other events as well in the calendar, to renew that pipeline, to revisit conversations, to meet new people in different demographics and so on. And the fact now that we have 2 really strong European events that are fairly separated from each other, it's 5 months apart, something like that. It means that all the salespeople that are selling products at these exhibitions have 2 really good opportunities to visit these major shows, in addition to many of the other events that are taking place in the calendar. So I really don't buy the argument that some organizations will choose one or the other. Like, you have to be, I mean, if you make money, if you see it as plus EV of going to one event, you will see plus EV going to both events. There is like very few companies who will not see it that way at the end of the day, and that's again why it's becoming a positive thing for both organizers at the end of the day that these events happen. It would be a totally different thing if the events happen 2 weeks from each other. That's different, okay? Then that friction that is being created now would be a lot more understandable, because then you are literally stepping on to the territory of the other organizer. If it's a month apart, then clearly you are doing this on purpose, and clearly there is like nefarious actions behind that. But now we are talking about two events that are separated in two totally separate quarters, right? And that's why they can live in harmony. I think that is the summary here. Nico, I want to quiz you actually, and also the audience I want to quiz as well while we are talking about the history of ICE here. So the history of ICE is much more interesting than one would think actually, and I want to ask you, when do you think the origin of this conference started? When was the first conference that that's what ICE is today?
First of all, thank you for being back and for putting me on the hot seat. It's good that you keep the patterns you always had. So congrats on continuing doing so. I just know for a fact that the first conference they ever did was in some kind of back office backyard room in a hotel where they had like tables and they had all the roll-up displays. And if I'm not mistaken, this was in 2003 or 2004 in London.
Oh, interesting. You know what? Here now you're gonna get surprised. Okay, so the first ICE, or actually it was called something else. The first conference that became ICE was organized in 1936 in London.
Okay.
1936. That's older than you and me both put together.
Yeah, probably in Europe we had other issues during that time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was quite different, but it survived those challenging times. And then in 1999, the amusement trade exhibition, as it was called back then, was then renamed to ICE, and it became more a gambling focus. It used to house a small casino department in this amusement trades exhibition, which was more games focused, board game focused and stuff like that. And then gambling became the primary kind of cause of the conference. In 1999, it was held for the first time as under the name ICE. Do you remember which year ICE moved from Earl's Court to Excel?
Oh, so the first time I attended ICE in 2014, it was already at Excel. So I know that LAC had been at Earl's Court quite some time, and you needed to actually move or travel from ICE Excel to Earl's Court. But I would go for 2009, 2008-9.
So the right answer, 2013. So it, unbeknownst to most people, ICE at Excel celebrated 10 years this year. Who would have known? Yes, John. It was 2013. That's when it moved. 10 years. So some interesting knowledge there. You learn something new every day. Also something to show here is we ran some polls as well on this subject. I ran a poll the other day just to get the temperature of people, how they felt about this. So how many people would travel to both shows? How many people would travel to SBC? And how many people would travel to ICE? And as we can see here from the polls, most people would go to both shows. But we can see also that there is considerably more people who would do ICE only, according to this poll. If I were to guess, I think once we actually come down to it in 2025, we'll see a lot more people who will be attending both. That would be my presumption. And it actually would be interesting to do another poll and say a year's time to see the difference there. I'm gonna take a guess that the SBC Barcelona event this year is gonna be. It looks like it's gonna be a smash hit. Pretty much everyone I talk to is going to this event, so it'll be interesting to see after the event as well, the temperature on that front as well. And we saw another poll as well, which asked the question if the move by Clarion to move it to Barcelona was good or bad. And we can see here as well that most people, is by Glenn De Battista, the COO of WebPanda, and we can see here that most people think that ICE is better off in Barcelona, and a minority would prefer to stay in London, which is another interesting little summary here. Like again, it'd be interesting in a year's time to see the temperature here, what people feel. Nico, a question to you. In this announcement by Clarion to move ICE to Barcelona, they also announced, perhaps a little bit less excitedly by the industry, that the Amsterdam show is moving to Excel, to London. What do you think about the IGB's move from Amsterdam to London? Good or bad?
So if you're facing the issue of exhibitors having to deal with customs in London, I don't get the point why this should be solved as soon as you move from Amsterdam to London. So either you're facing this issue, and we're just speaking about the IGB, so the affiliate conference, where the booths, the stands are way smaller than during ICE. So this is one of the things I couldn't get when announcing, okay, our customers forced us to move out of London, but then on the same note, you actually discontinue an event in Amsterdam, in Central Europe, and move this one to London as well. So this is one of the points I just didn't get.
Yeah, it's an interesting, that in itself deserves almost its own little podcast. That was very unexpected, right? Because Amsterdam and IGB is a staple as well in the industry, and people love to go to Amsterdam in the summer. It's a great place, and so on. But I wonder a little bit if it's because of traveling to Schiphol has become more difficult. We saw the issues that happened last year at Schiphol Airport and the strikes and difficulties and so on. Maybe I have no idea, I have no information, but maybe there was a contract with Excel that extended for 30 years, and they needed to use that contract somehow. I really have no idea, but it was really surprising to me to see, actually. And all these moves, what now ends up happening is there's of course a spot for someone to do something in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam. And another thing that I heard actually that could play a part to this is many operators and affiliates are not very thrilled of the local regulation in the Netherlands. And I heard even this year that there were a couple of operators who boycotted the event based on the local regulations and so on. Maybe that plays a part too. I don't know. But Nico, just to do a little bit customer research here, if we would do an event in Amsterdam.
So if this is one of the underlying reasons not going to Amsterdam, I'm pretty sure Germany is done, right? With the regulation we have in place. So there will be no gaming event in Germany ever, right? So just all good. And just to answer one of the questions in the chat of John Bruford, question like, no, it wasn't an Excel in 2014. Kind of. Be aware, we are speaking about ICE and LAC, the London Affiliate Conference. So they have just been combined. Yeah. So the affiliate conference had been in Earl's Court until 2017, 2019, I guess. And then, in 2018 or 19, they also moved to Excel. And they had been pre-ordered time in Earl's Court. So, John, it was the London Affiliate Conference, which probably took the space after ICE moved from Earl's Court to Excel, and then of course Earl's Court was there for the taking, and that's why they moved to. I think
John had too many cocktails at the exhibition floor and forgot which venue he was at.
Yeah, so probably he's all into our margaritas, and we don't know, but yeah, it is like it is. But a funny fact. And what was your question again? Besides the research I should do in
Yes,
Amsterdam?
yeah, exactly. So if there was a new event that was born in Amsterdam, I'm just asking for a friend here. I'm asking for a friend. If my friend organized an event in Amsterdam, would you go?
Yeah.
You'll be there, Nico.
Yeah.
You'll be the first
What should I say? So,
as a-
first
and
of all,
let's
if
say
it's a friend of
hypothetically,
yours, if it's
yeah,
a
it's a
friend
friend of
of
mine.
yours, yeah, because you're asking for a friend, there must be an underlying reason for that one. And if your friend delivers the high quality like you deliver as well, of course, it's another must-attend event as well. Not for the reason it's in Amsterdam, because I don't like Amsterdam that much, because each of you, yeah, Nico, you should go to the red light district. Yeah, okay, seen it. Yeah, thank you, bye bye, and then just going back to the hotel. So I'm not on the fancy stuff in Amsterdam. Not like Axl Rose during the world tour when he got lost in the red light district, and they needed to postpone every concert after Amsterdam because they just couldn't find him. So I'm on a different train, I'm on a different bus. So that's not my reason to actually attend an event in Amsterdam. But as said, as you're asking for a friend, maybe your former roommate, Magnus, which I met in Amsterdam, and we just shared some laughter. And he became a friend of mine as well. So, as soon as somebody introduces himself as your friend, he's my friend instantly as well. So, as said, another must attend event to answer your question in a proper way.
Yeah, maybe I heard something like iGaming backwards or something. iGaming backwards for 25, something like that. But anyway, yeah, who knows? Who knows? So interesting moves nonetheless here in the world of conferences. Of course, this is something that is close to both of our hearts. Nico, I met you for the first time actually at the SBC Barcelona conference, the inaugural event, but back in 2021. We had great time there, of course, and so we've been a part of that conference since the very beginning. And of course, ice is a staple in the industry as well. So always exciting and interesting when these when these changes happen. And you know what? Maybe this seemingly start of a drama here can turn into a nice little friendship here between SBC and Clarion, when both of these organizers figure out that this is actually something great that is taking place for both of them now. Who knows? Who knows? A friendship that we didn't know could happen, maybe, perhaps. Who knows? Who knows? Nico, any closing thoughts from your side today?
No, I'm good. I'm just thrilled once again sharing the stage with you. It just feels like going back to the future, right? Like our DeLorean has started where we left off like 2.5 years ago, or maybe 3 years ago. Yeah, and it was good seeing you once again and running a show with you. Thank you.
Absolutely, and we might have to add the hottest bachelor in iGaming at our iGaming Idol show later in the year here, because Nico, you're certainly a front runner here now. The single and ready to mingle here, Nico Jansen, ladies and gentlemen, hottest and newest bachelor in the iGaming industry. We'll have to write an article about that.
Yeah. And then you can just scan the barcode here on the top left corner to read the full story.
Yes,
exactly.
Yeah, boom, there you go. Not about Nico, unfortunately, but yeah, maybe it's coming up. All right. Brilliant. Guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. Great discussions here in the chat today. Really happy to see that as well. Great to have so many of you guys with us. Okay, together for the industry, not just SBC, not just Clarion, but all of us together. We're going to make this better. It's been a pleasure. Nico, single ready to mingle. Let's go down and have a margarita, maybe speak to some new people, who knows, and see you here soon again.
Yeah. See you next week. Same place,
see you
same
next
time.
week, everyone. Thank you so much, guys. Bye-bye.